Ever wanted to write and publish your own book to hold it in your own hand? I'm Mila Johansson from Pen to Published, and I coach writing and publishing. In fact, I helped Steve, Irma, and Olivia put together their book, Heart Notes, as an example of what I do. And I'm so excited to be an official sponsor for the Sing Your Heart Song Summit in July. Right now, you're going to experience a speaker spotlight series. There are so many valuable speakers for you to get to know before they do their presentation. Don't just watch, join the conversation in chat.
The Sing Your Heart Song Speaker Spotlight featuring Mark Lyons. Mark Lyons is known as the Garden Troubadour. He's a master gardener, consultant, and educator. He's been gardening since 10 years old, and his first success came when he grew a foot-long, 2.5-pound cucumber and was featured in the local paper. His business today is called Green Thumb at Your Service, dedicated to inspiring and coaching people on vegetable and mushroom gardening, harvest preservation, and home cheesemaking. Mark is also an accomplished singer, songwriter, and performer. He plays the guitar, ukulele, and washboard. For more information, please visit www.greenthumbAtYourService.com. Mark your calendars. Mark will be speaking on day 1 of our summit under the theme of Finding Your Heart Song and Creating the Garden of You. His personal favorite quote is one that he stole from Grand Ole Opry star Whispering Bill Anderson. Find something you love to do so much that you do it for nothing. Then do it so well they'll pay you. Good morning. Hello there, Steph. How are you today?
Good. How about you?
I'm fantastic. Today is our grand finale of the Speaker Spotlight series. Woo! 21 speakers is a lot to go through.
It is an awful lot to go through. It seems like we've been doing it for at least a month.
Yes. And then some. But so excited. I mean, we saved the best for last, truly, right? And so
absolutely. The Garden Troubadour.
Exactly. And if you're just tuning in, welcome to the Sing Your Heart Song Speaker Spotlight. Today is our last one with our final presenter. And please check in with us. Say hello in the comments. Let us know if you have any questions about the summit, anything we can help answer, or just let us know if you've registered and you're super excited. And stick around because you want to stick around for our surprise today. So you're just tuning in, stay and watch until the very end. We can't tell you what the surprise is. You just have to stick around and find out.
The best kind of surprise.
The best kind of surprise, yes. So I don't know about you. Have you ever felt like you have a green thumb or a brown thumb?
Yes. At times in my life, I've actually felt like I've had a green thumb. Most of the time, I've felt like I've had a brown thumb. And as often happens with me, this question reminds me of my dad, who had a very green thumb. He had plants like all over the house and was always able to really keep them green, which was really cool to see. But I also know that there was a time when his thumb wasn't as green as it was when he later on. So there is hope.
I'm so excited to sit down with Mark Lyons. His company is amazing, Green Thumb at Your Service. He does a lot of educating and informing people all over about how they can build, their own gardens. And so the only plants that I've been known to take care of are the succulents, the cactus.
Those are the ones that are thriving most in our
They
family.
thrive. Even if I forget to water them, they still thrive. So that's the only plant I've had much success with. But super excited that we've got Mark and his perspective and how he can help us as well. So with that being said, let's bring on Mark Lyons. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hello, welcome, Mark.
Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning to you. Excellent. So we've got some Green Thumb newbies here between Steph and I.
Sounds like you started out really early with growing. What was it, a zucchini or something? When you were
it was a cucumber. Although in the picture I use on my professional profile and LinkedIn and all that shows me with a huge zucchini. And I've gotten some jokes about that. We won't go into those. But no, but you're right. I did get my start early. I was, as I like to tell people, my parents had a vegetable garden when I was growing up, and they were kind enough to let my sister and me sharecrop a portion of it. And over time, as we all got a little older, I started taking over more and more of the labor there. And today, my mother gets all the tomatoes and cucumbers she wants with no work on her part. So what's not to love?
The best kind.
And then as time went on, as I started doing more and more, people would ask my advice about their gardens and other things. And I parlayed that into Green Thumb at Your Service.
Nice. So I'm curious.
Yes.
Was just passing my daughter Jessica has 3 5-gallon buckets out on our drive with peppers and tomatoes in there, which is cool to see. But I was thinking, there's no way that would produce as much as we go through. And part of that is because much of the produce that she goes through goes to her 6 guinea pigs. So but I'm wondering how much space do you need to have in order to produce all the tomatoes and cucumbers and so forth that your mother could ever eat?
Surprisingly, you do not need a great deal of space. And I actually, one of the classes that I teach is all about vegetable gardening in small spaces. In many cases, the small space gardener sometimes can produce as much or even more than the big backyard gardener. It's just a question of making the most efficient use of the space that you have. And as I tell people, just because you do not have a big backyard does not mean that you are forever precluded from gardening. I was at a motel, and I just happened to wander out back, and the proprietor was growing vegetables in old tires.
Cool.
So you don't really need a huge backyard. And if you use intensive growing methods like square foot gardening, you can make the most out of your small space, and you can get quite a bit of vegetables, all that you need. Plus, you don't have the labor of a huge garden that you have to dig and weed. And so that makes it even more efficient.
That's actually exactly what I was just thinking, because we actually have a very large yard in the acres. But dealing with all that, even just to mow the 5 acres that I mow on a weekly basis, that's a couple hours a week that I have to invest in doing that, let alone all the gardening that if we were to. So it's great to know that there are ways to optimize not only the space but also the time and the energy that goes into that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you had just a patio or a deck or a balcony, you can grow some stuff in containers. I saw a video one time of somebody in their Manhattan apartment. He showed a video. He was growing peppers and greens and other things. Now, some vegetables don't work so well in a small space or in a container. Like corn is difficult to do in a container.
Mm.
Although Burpee does have a hybrid called the on deck hybrid, which is meant to be grown in a small space. I've been experimenting with that. So far, I haven't really had that much luck, only because the critters have stolen the stuff from me. So I got to work on that one.
Awesome. And what are some challenges that people have come to you for? What prevents people from getting into gardening?
Well, once again, some people say that, oh, I don't have enough space. And as we've already discussed, I tell them that's not necessarily an inhibition to gardening. There's much you can do. Some people say that, oh, I have a black thumb. I can't really grow anything. My response to them is, well, you need to take one of my classes or read my book. You got to find what you've been doing. One question I usually get, or a typical one, is somebody will say to me, Mark, my tomatoes didn't do so well last year. And then I'll ask them, oh, what variety or what cultivar did you plant? Oh, I don't know. I just went to Walmart and purchased what they had. And that was kind of their first mistake, because one of the things I tell people, one of my basic rules is don't put anything in the ground until you know something about it. It could be as simple as knowing the requirements. Does it need full sun, part shade? Does it need a lot of water? Does it need a little water? Does it need excessive fertilization or just a little bit? One of the stories I like to tell about not doing your homework, and again, gardening is supposed to be a fun hobby, but you do have to do a little bit of homework. You have to think and plan before you throw something in the ground. And years ago, I decided to plant a Jerusalem artichoke. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular vegetable. It's a knobby tuber, kind of looks like a potato with mumps. So I planted 9 tuber pieces, not knowing anything about it other than I like the flavor. And after I planted it, I read a little bit about them, and I will always remember what I read. The Jerusalem artichoke, or sunchoke, in the sunflower family. And I thought, sunflower? Uh-oh. Sure enough. With stems thick as my wrist, and oh my Lord, were they prolific. I had bagfuls of tubers. I mean, if you want to grow something that's virtually idiot-proof, grow a Jerusalem artichoke. However, come springtime, I discovered that I didn't dig all the tubers out because the ones that I missed started sprouting. And it took me a good 2 years before I completely cleared all that stuff out of the garden. But had I taken the time to do my homework and learn a little bit about that Jerusalem artichoke, I would have thought twice before planting it.
That's interesting. It's classified as a sunflower family. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Did it have flowers?
It had a small flower at the top,
Okay.
Not like a big sunflower, but it did have a flower. And it had, again, thick stems like a sunflower. I mean, I darn near got a hernia trying to pull the thing out.
Wow. We were, gosh, I do not remember where we were, but my wife and I were somewhere local recently, like in the last week or so. And there were these plants that were as tall as a sunflower, but the flower on it itself was more like and these are two very different things, but they were about the size of like a tulip or a marigold. And I have no idea what they were, but they were, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if they're 8 feet, but well above my head, which doesn't take much. But
sounds like it could be a hydrangea.
You think so? Like a tall, skinny stalk and flower at the top?
Maybe. I mean, I know the flowers on hydrangeas can get pretty large, so that's what leads me to believe that it.
Yeah, the hydrangeas we've had have been more bushy than stalk-like. But
yeah, mine are bushy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hydrangeas.
Well, it was just to get. Well, I mean, without actually seeing it,
yeah, that shows my black thummishness, but.
Luckily for me, I married a green thumb, so my husband loves the garden. So, as long as I remember to water the plants, we're good. And we live in Florida, so one of the things I learned from him is like paying attention to the zones, right? So which
Oh yes, oh
the
yes.
zones, and then which
That is
plants.
one thing that I teach in my classes is about zones. You know, I tell because I live in the Chicagoland area, which is zone. It used to be zone 5, but I think with climate change, it's now shifted to zone 6, at least according to the most recent USDA hardiness zone map that I have. But I tell people, you know, here in the zone that you're living in, you know, make sure whatever zone you're living in, make sure that you buy and plant what grows in your zone. You know, if you live in zone 6, don't try to plant a zone 10 plant. You will be sorely disappointed. Now, the good news is, though, is that you can push a zone in either direction. I mean, if you live in, once again, I use zone 6, you can grow a zone 5 plant or a zone 7 plant, and you'll probably be all right. But I wouldn't try to push it any more than that. In addition, sometimes with people's yards, they have what's known as a microclimate, where based on, you know, you might have some trees that act as a windbreak. You might have some other things growing. And as a result, your yard might actually be a climate zone one up or down from where you are. And you might have further opportunities to grow some plants that are outside your climate zone.
So a zone isn't necessarily like all of North Carolina or I mean, when I look at those maps, and it's been a while since I've looked at them, but they're pretty large swaths of land.
Exactly. You know, zone 6 would encompass part of the Chicagoland area, part of Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, and the state of Illinois is in about 3 or 4 different zones. Southern Illinois is in a much warmer zone than the Chicagoland area.
Huh.
So, but you know, if you're buying locally, you don't really have to worry about that too much because let's face it, a local nursery is going to sell what's going to grow. If they didn't, they wouldn't be in business long. Where people get in trouble is if they buy from a catalog or elsewhere and they don't read the directions.
Yeah. Know what you're planting.
Yes. Important.
So I was listening to a book called The Wayfinders this morning by Wade Davis, and the book is all about his work with Aboriginal and Native peoples.
Ah.
And the part that I was listening to this morning was he was talking about Inca and Maya and so forth, and just the relationship these people have with the land is so different than like my relationship. And I'm very much a tree hugger. I really love being outdoors and all that kind of thing, but I do not have the relationship that, say a gardener or a someone that Wade Davis was talking about in these books. Can you tell us a little bit about how has your relationship with the earth not only produced vegetables, but also what impact has it had on your life?
Well, the fact of, well, let me back up a second. The gardening that I do, not only for myself, but for others, it's kind of freed me from being a corporate drone, number one. It gives me a chance to do what I enjoy and to make a difference to others and not have to be in an office 9 to 5. Now, while I do some temp work, just to pay the bills and all that, it's still not the same as being tied to a single company. And working in the garden, it's kind of given me much more of an appreciation for the soil and the land and what we grow. And it's just freeing to be out in nature and to see my efforts turn into something, to plant a tiny seed and then watch it grow into a huge tomato plant producing fruit, sharing it with friends and family and seeing the looks on their faces. Wow, you grew this. I especially like growing the big tomatoes or the really long cucumbers. When I hand those to people and say, whoa, that's a cucumber, or whoa, that's a tomato. So it's kind of the personal satisfaction that I get from seeing my efforts appreciated. I've started, and it's kind of led me to do things that I haven't ever done before, like making my own pickles, making my own cheese. I'm always gratified that when I started making my own pickles and sharing them with my sister and brother-in-law and my niece and nephew, they now refer to what I provide them as Uncle Mark pickles. And in fact, I actually got the brine recipe that I use to make my pickles. I got from a website, Food Canada. So I decided that if I was ever to market and sell my own pickles, I think I would name them Uncle Mark's Old Fashioned Canadian Dill Pickles.
That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah, I need a pretty large table to fit all that.
Oh my goodness.
But
One day I might be.
that was kind of a roundabout answer, but did I answer your question?
Yeah, and it sounds like there's a number of benefits that come from it. Not only just the wonder of watching a small seed grow into something significant, a notable tomato or cucumber or whatever, but there's also the social impact of sharing your produce with your friends and family, and possibly having Uncle Mark's. I won't even attempt to.
Old-fashioned Canadian dill pickles. Get it together, Steph.
Careful, there'll be a quiz afterwards.
Right, there's a quiz afterwards.
No, well, the other aspect I think I may have touched on, but it's the fact that when people come to me with their garden questions, if their garden hasn't been doing so well, and just knowing that I've made a difference in their gardening. One of my networking colleagues who took my Growing Terrific Tomatoes class, every time I see him, he says, "Oh yeah, Mark, thanks so much for your class. My tomatoes are growing so much better now thanks to your advice." And I like hearing that.
That is very gratifying indeed.
To paraphrase Casey and the Sunshine Band, that's the way. I like it.
Well, this is a great segue into how have you combined all of your musical talent with the
yes. Well, when I started Green Thumb at Your Service, I had a kind of a very sparse catalog. I just had a few classes, and I kept asking myself, what can I do to distinguish myself from others? Because there were some other outfits out there that did garden coaching, garden consulting, and I have to ask myself the question, why should they come to me? What can I do that they can't get elsewhere? And so I figured, number one, most of the garden consulting that I saw dealt with flower gardening. And I figured, okay, I'll do mine on vegetable gardening. That's one distinction, because I didn't see a lot of that. Number two, at the time, as I was trying to expand my offerings, I was just starting to get into cheese making, and I figured, all right, I could teach a class on that as well. I mean, I was strictly an amateur cheesemaker at the time. I was the amateur's amateur, but I figured I knew just enough to be dangerous, so I figured I could teach a class on that. And then I came up with the idea of, all right, what could I do for my classes to distinguish them from other classes that could take? And I figured, all right, I could do a song after each class. And so I wanted to come up with a specific gardening song. So the first one I came up with, I took an old 1850s, 1860s tune called "The Farmer is the Man." It was at the time of the National Grain Movement. It was an agricultural movement to improve farming conditions, increase knowledge. And so I took the song, and instead of "The Farmer is the Man," I wrote it as "The Gardener is the One." And I wrote my own verses to that. Kind of as a segue off of that, I was doing a presentation on growing and using herbs at the public library in Crown Point, Indiana. And the adult program coordinator knew I was going to be coming back later that year to do my cheese making presentation. And as I was leaving, she said, "I want a cheese song." So fast forward to the day of the presentation, I'm in my motel room with just a few hours to go. I hadn't written the song yet, so I figured I need to write something fast. So for some reason, the phrase "cheese doesn't grow on trees" came into mind. And so I figured, all right, let's make a song about that. And so I wrote that really quickly. And so, yeah, so I try to end my presentations with a song specific to that particular topic. And if necessary, sometimes I have to change the words to one of my existing songs. Like the gardener is the one, I reference the gardener is the one, grows tomatoes through the fall, and they're tasty and they're sweet, and you know they can't be beat. The gardener is the one who grows it all. If I'm doing a class on herbs, I may have to change it to grows mint and basil through the fall. So, and sometimes I wind up changing it on the fly. So. But the other way that I combine the two is sometimes I can bounce one area of expertise off the other. If, for example, I'm doing a gardening presentation at a library, after it's over, I'll say to the program coordinator or whatever, oh, by the way, in addition to doing gardening presentations, I'm also a musician, and we play for assisted living centers, library programs, children's parties, farmers markets. Then I'll hand them a business card for that. When I say we, I'm referring to my musical partner, Gina Daskovich. You know, we're a duo and we play together. And, you know, I always try to get something for the both of us. Gene isn't always able to accompany me on every gig, so sometimes I'm a solo. But, you know, I try to bounce one off the other. If I'm doing a musical presentation, I'll say to someone, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a gardener. I also do presentation on gardening. Here's my green thumb at your service card. And lastly, when I was, when doing all of this, I started getting into mushroom growing. So I added that piece as well. And in general, I'm always trying to come up with new and different classes, you know, just to keep my catalog from getting stale. One of my more innovative classes that I came up with is one on plants that you should beware of planting, either because they are aggressive, invasive, or downright toxic. And I named that class The Garden of Doom.
Well, I think you've been working on a song for our summit.
Yes.
You've got the ukulele ready?
I do have the ukulele ready.
Okay, so all of you are watching. This is your musical medley surprise. So we have the original song.
Goes like this.
We want you to go.
Let me see if I have the right key. Yeah, I think I'll try it in D.
This is the artist.
There we go. Finding the right one. This heart of mine I bring, I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring, I'm gonna let it sing.
Everybody.
Heart of mine I bring, I'm gonna let it sing. Let it sing, let it sing, let it sing. Once more. This heart of mine I bring, I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring, I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring, I'm gonna let it sing. Let it sing, let it sing, let it sing.
That was terrific.
Thank you.
So now you've got a new one to add to your album. The heart song.
Yes, that's right. I actually, I didn't bring it with me, but I did record a couple of CDs. I had one that I recorded like back in 2000, way before I was doing any of this. I was between jobs at the time and had nothing better to do. So with the help of a friend, I recorded a solo CD. It's about half covers and half my own songs. And then the other one I recorded with my musical partner, an album of a CD of children's songs.
Excellent. Will you transfer them to the SoundCloud at some point? Digitize it?
I'll have to work on that. I
don't have a CD player anymore.
I'll have to find an outfit that does that, and because I only have one copy left of each one, my fear is that if I hand it over, that they'll lose it. I'll never
Precious
have
material.
I'm sorry?
Precious material.
Yes. But I when I'm not gardening and I'm doing my music, I try to do some of my own songs on occasion. And one song that I have fun doing is I wrote years ago. I had a friend of mine who was dating someone who was taking major advantage of him, and he would break up with her and get back together. And then one Christmas he announced that he broke up, and then New Year's Eve I was talking with a mutual friend who told me they were getting back together, and I said, "Oh man, she's sucking him dry like a black widow spider." And the instant I said it, I said, that could be a song. And it was one of those rare instances when I put the pen to the paper, and I could have just walked out of the room because the song practically wrote itself. Another one that and one time I was feeling naughty, and this particular guy was in the audience, and I sang the song. I didn't say anything about how I wrote it. I figured he could figure that out all by himself.
Sweet revenge. Well, you've got a big fan here, Rajesh. I hear on LinkedIn is saying, "Wow, that's a very good song, sung with guitar." It's a ukulele, Rajesh. So, Mark, do you have it, the ukulele, so you can see?
Yes.
So it's a smaller guitar. It's a ukulele.
Yes. It's this is what's known as it's one of the smaller sized ukuleles come in a variety of sizes. This is known as a soprano ukulele. And I played the guitar for years, and I got into the ukulele when, again, back in 2000, a friend of mine was selling his instruments, and I saw his ukulele. He was selling a baritone, which is a larger sized ukulele. And I said, "Oh, gee, this would be fun to play, but I shouldn't be spending money on this kind of stuff when I'm between jobs." I saw him a month later. He took me aside. He said, "Mark, I want you to have the ukulele. Just pay me back whenever." And I thought, I can't say no to that. And then about a year later or so, my partner and I had a gig, and I broke a string. And I had tuned the baritone like a soprano uke. And I kept trying to retune it, restring it, and the string kept breaking. And there was no time for me to learn how to play baritone ukulele because the fingering is different. And so I bought myself a soprano ukulele, and I played that one for years, and then the bridge broke. I'm currently having it repaired, but I needed another one, so that's when I bought this one. And, soprano ukulele, the tuning is basically A, E, C, and G. My dog has fleas. And I like the soprano uke because sometimes the chording on a guitar can be rather complicated. B minor augmented to the fifth. I mean, you can twist your fingers into knots trying to finger that on the guitar, but on a ukulele, it may just be a couple of strings. So, and besides, if I'm traveling with an instrument, I can bring the ukulele, and I don't have to worry about checking it into baggage where the Samsonite gorilla can start stomping on it.
Well, Rajesh, I hope you enjoyed that mini lesson on the ukulele and that you're inspired to pick it up.
It is fun, and I'm actually teaching for those who live locally. I'll be teaching a beginning ukulele class in the fall through High School District 128.
That's awesome.
So those of you that live in the Libertyville, Vernon Hills area, check your catalog. You'll see my class there.
Well, I don't know. I think Rajesh, you're not in Illinois, so you might have to be on the waiting list for an online class with Mark. But thank you so much, Rajesh. You're awesome for joining our conversation and being inspired today with songs and gardening and music. So awesome. That was so cool. I love what you said earlier about how you wanted to differentiate yourself, right? And
yes.
combined interests. And I think so many of us entrepreneurs, we forget the different parts of ourselves and how we can combine that and mishmash it into creating something beautiful on its own.
Yes. And to your point, Olivia, doing all that I do gives me a chance to combine all my passions and make a bit of a living at it too. I mean, I can garden, I can make cheese, I can grow mushrooms, I can sing songs, and I can entertain, and I'm doing what I love. And while it's not able to stand on its own completely yet, I'm a farther ahead of where I used to be when I first started, and I'm confident that there will come a time when I can eventually drop the temping and I can do this full time. When that's going to happen, I can't say, but I'm headed in that direction. And to all those who have followed me on my journey, if you've taken a class, if you've gone to a live presentation, if you've gone to one of my musical gigs, I'm grateful for you. And don't keep me a secret. Tell all your friends, tell all your relatives, tell your relatives of friends, your friends of relatives. Heck, even tell your enemies.
You're non-discriminating.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's fun. That was one of the things I was thinking about earlier when you were sharing about what you get from gardening, was just that you made the comment that you don't have to be dependent on being a corporate drone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a really cool sense of freedom to be able to
Yes.
chart your own course and to say, you know, I want to do this and I want to bring these things in and so forth, rather than saying, okay, well, the way that I have to do it is this and this and this, because either the corporation has said that's the way it has to happen, or, you know, someone else has dictated your script. And you're
Yes. Yes.
just
And
like just like you're creating your own songs, you're creating your own song, your heart song of life too.
exactly. And I was inspired to do that. And I'll be forever grateful to the gentleman who recommended that I do this. Back in 2010, I had reached a career crisis point where it suddenly dawned on me that I no longer wanted to go into my former fields. You know, by education and training, I have a bachelor's in agriculture and a master's in animal science. I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I didn't quite make it. So instead, I worked for 11 years in animal agriculture. And then from there, I switched careers and went into strategic management consulting. And, you know, when that ended, I was figuring, well, I have to go back and get a real job. I've got to work in corporate America. But the more I tried to find a job, and I wasn't succeeding, and I couldn't really figure out why, because everybody kept telling me I was doing all the right things. But it finally dawned on me that I didn't want to go back into those fields. And so I asked, okay, if I don't want to do any of that, then where do I go from here? And I turned to a gentleman who belongs to my networking group. And sadly, he's no longer with us. He passed away many years ago. But he was one of the wisest members of our group. And I told him my situation. And he said, let's go to dinner. We can talk about it. And I'll always remember what he told me. He said, Mark, no one has worked harder at this than you. So the first thing that you need is a break. And he recommended getting out of town, isolating myself, and using that time to clear my head and figure out my next move. And that's something that I recommend to anybody who is at the same place where I once was. You know, isolate yourself, get out of your situation, and change your scenery, and use that time to just clear your head and think a little bit.
That's sage
And
advice.
shouldas, and this is some myself in Galena, Illinois. And so, you know, I spent that time during the day. I did the touristy stuff at night. I did some journaling, did some thinking. And that was when I realized that in order to be happy career-wise, I would have to strike out on my own and do my own thing. And I said, all right, well, then what can I do? And I said, well, I like to garden. I started making cheese. I like to make music. So how can I combine that into a business? And then I remembered that, this was the beginning of the buy local movement. People were becoming more and more concerned about their food. How is it being grown? What's being sprayed on it? What's being defecated on it? And that's when people were going to farmers markets, and they were where they could ask the farmer, how do you grow your produce? Do you use any harsh chemicals? And then of that population, a portion of them were saying, I am so concerned about the food that's being grown and what goes on it, what I don't want on it, that the only way I can be 100% certain that I don't have any unwanted chemicals on my produce is to grow it myself. But I've never done it before. I mean, my grandmother used to do it, but I never paid any attention. How do I start? And I figured that's where I could come in. I could help people to do that. And I could still continue to do music gigs. And while I was trying to build all this, I could temp, because I had made a very lucrative career out of temping. So I figured, all right, I can temp to bring in the money, let my day job fuel my dream job, and then I won't have to worry about how I'm going to pay my bills, how I'm going to buy groceries, and I can focus on growing my business. And so I decided that, all right, I'm going to do it, because even if it turned into a miserable failure, when I turn 80 years old, I'll at least be able to look back and say, hey, I tried that. It didn't work, but I know that, as opposed to turning 80 years old and looking back and saying, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I had done that, but now I'll never know.
Yeah.
That's the rocking chair test. Yeah, when you're sitting in your rocking chair.
Exactly. What I think it was Mark Twain who once said, if you must have regrets for the things that you've done, not the things that you haven't done.
Precisely. Yeah.
So that was pretty much how Green Thumb at Your Service launched. And, I've pretty much been making it up as I go along. I started teaching classes through park districts until I realized that park districts didn't really give me my bang for my buck. I mean, most people go to park districts, or at least it seemed to me, to either take Pilates classes or bring their kids to soccer practice, not really so much of adult classes. And I discovered that I was getting more results through libraries. And so I started reaching out to libraries. And then when the pandemic hit and started shutting down a lot of live classes, that was when I started using Zoom. And I figured, well, if I can do Zoom classes for libraries in Illinois, I can do Zoom classes for libraries in any state. So I started expanding my repertoire. Somebody gave me the idea once of, I attend folk festivals, and one in particular that I like to go to is the Indiana Fiddlers Gathering down in Battleground, Indiana, near West Lafayette. So I figured, all right, or he suggested to me rather, that I could contact libraries along the way and say, hey, I'm going to be in your area this week. Would you be interested in one of my presentations? So I could do presentations along the way and pay my way to the festival.
That's awesome. You've really inspired something in Rajesh. I mean, he's just complimenting you in the chat here.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Sir, you're a passionate gentleman. And he also shares that in India, they're promoting organic farming as well.
Wonderful.
So that's where Rajesh is from, India. So thank you, Rajesh, for letting us know
and
that.
I like the fact that he plays harmonica, flute, and bongo and synthesizer. Wow. I just play guitar, ukulele, and washboard.
So you've inspired him. I mean, he's bringing up some very powerful memories of playing music with his father. So,
Wow.
They used to sit together and play together. Music is the essence of life. I think you have really emphasized that today on the spotlight, Mark.
Yes. Funny story. I was inspired to play the washboard by a performer who performs a lot at the Old Town School of Folk Music, Barbara Silverman. And so a couple years ago, I was at the Indiana Fiddlers Gathering, and I was dragging my washboard back from doing the children's concert. And I happened to see Barb, and I said, Barb, look, you're my inspiration. I created a washboard. She took one look at it and said, it's not beat up. You don't play it enough. But I like to tell people that my washboard is the Stradivarius model. And it's my fondest hope that someday I'll be first washboard chair in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. They haven't called me yet, so that dream may have to be deferred for a while.
Well, who knows? After the spotlight and after the summit, you might be getting those calls.
That's right.
Maybe the Berlin Philharmonic can use a washboard player. I don't know.
I love your vision.
Thank you.
And the passion.
Thank you. I'm having a lot of fun too. I mean, it's work, but it's work is different when you're doing it for something you love versus for somebody else or something that you don't really enjoy. When I would put together my parents' vegetable garden, whether I was the initial digging and planting or the pulling up and the replowing, I would come in and my father would always say, "Boy, you did a lot of work out there." And I would always say, "Dad, it's work, but it isn't."
We're playing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. When it's for what you enjoy, it's effort. Yes, it's labor, but it's not really work. When you're creating spreadsheets and you're attempting to ramp up our synergies to a new paradigm, that's work.
We're at the end of our segment, and so just want to say thank you to all of you for watching. Rajesh, you've been awesome. Marina, I saw you there on Facebook, so thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. And I think we'd like to close out with another song. So let's play the song again. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to do one of mine or the same one that we did?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Both. Yes.
Well,
and so
first of all, before we do, I just want to make a quick plug. This is the book that I wrote, Gardening with Confidence. It's a small book for a mere $6.50. You can take me home. I mean, you can take the book home. I cost a little bit more. $5 for the book, $6.50 for postage, or rather $1.50 for postage and handling. If you'd like to buy it, just send me your email or email me your address, and I'll email you mine, and you can send me a check. And I'm also on Venmo, so we can do it that way too. But anyway, the other book I'd like to promote real quickly. This is a book that I got involved in called Maturepreneurs Talk. It's by Diana Todd Banks. It's basically a series of stories about people who at the midpoint of their life decided to become entrepreneurs. And I'm one of the stories that's in that book. And even if I wasn't, I would highly recommend it because there's a lot of good inspirational stories there of people who decided to become entrepreneurs at the midpoint of their lives. And that book is available on Amazon, so you can buy that. But anyway, for the song, I'll tell you what, I will do one of mine. I'll do my cheese song, and then I'll finish with the heart song. So the cheese song goes like this. Oh, cheese doesn't grow on trees. It comes out of the milk of mammalian species. It's the food of the gods, and this I know. A meal with cheese is the way to go. You can serve it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or a snack. Cheddar, Manchego, Brie, or Monterey Jack, or any of the other 300 different kinds out there. Not Velveeta. And for God's sakes, not Cheese Whiz. You can serve it with friends, eat it alone, have it on vacation, or enjoy it at home. A platter of cheese makes the world all right, 'cause any way you slice it, it's an utter delight. Oh, cheese doesn't grow on trees. It comes out of the milk of mammalian species all around the world. And from here to Crimea, serving cheese is a good idea.
Very good idea.
Fair warning, the jokes don't get any better. And some of them are downright awful.
Well, that was good.
I have a weakness for the pun, and I wield it with surgical precision. You will laugh and you will groan. In fact, one of my friends once told me that I put the groan in grown up.
Very nice.
And I make liberal use of awful jokes and bad puns in my presentations and my classes. So bring your be prepared to groan. But anyway, we'll finish up with the heart song one. So I think I did that in D. This heart of mine I bring. I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring. I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring. I'm gonna let it sing. Let it sing. Let it sing. Let it sing. Once more. Especially set on any of the verses. This heart of mine I bring. I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring. I'm gonna let it sing. This heart of mine I bring. I'm gonna let it sing. Let it sing. Let it sing. Let it sing.
Woo! Woo! Thank you, Mark. This has been such a delightful conversation with you. Thank you for being our grand finale with that music.
Thank you for inviting me to be a part of your Sing Your Heart Song Summit, and I'm looking forward to giving my presentation and hearing the presentations of others as well. I've seen your roster of speakers, and I've joined a few of the speaker spotlights, and I'm anxious to hear them and learn something from them as well.
Exactly. We can all learn from each other. So if you haven't registered today, Rajesh, if you have not registered, go make sure you do that today. The link is below, singyourheartsongsummit.com, for more music, more heart songs, more gardening, and more Mark. So
more bad jokes.
And more bad jokes.
Sorry, that's part of the package.
It's all part of your package. Exactly. So be sure to join us, Rajesh, and all of you watching us on replay, #replay. Please make sure you register, reserve your spot. It's coming up real soon. And so you want to make sure that you're there and be a part of this experience. It's going to be an awesome summer bash. And Mark, you got a journal. I think you ordered a journal as well.
Ooh. Yes, right? I did. I did order a journal. Absolutely.
Oh, look, Marina chiming in finally. Let it sing. I love to sing my heart out. Yes, Marina. And you can do that at the summit.
Yes. So. In fact, I promise I will bring the ukulele to my presentation and do at least one song, or that one, the heart song, and maybe one or two others.
And look, India is going to be represented. Okay, way to go, Rajesh. You're going to represent India at the Heart Song Summit. Way to go.
Awesome.
But yeah, there is still time to order your Heart Song journals. It's today, the deadline for all those orders to be shipped out to you. You can still order past the deadline, but you just might have to wait until after the summit. So the Heart Song Journal is the upgraded experience where you can work with our creative visionary, Chris Dyer, on customizing it for your own with your name. It will have the Heart Song logo, the website, and matching set of Swarovski crystals. So you can write down all your favorite garden tips from Mark in that journal.
By the way, I'm also an advocate of I believe in the right for all Americans to keep and bear ukuleles, because when ukuleles are banned, only bands will have ukuleles.
Okay, Marina says, yeah, jokes, even bad jokes are funny. Okay, Anna Marina.
Oh, Marina, you are entirely too kind. I have some friends that might, my own singing partner, after a while, she keeps telling me, Mark, don't quit your day job.
That's right. Your day job is fueling the dream job. So that was a writer downer from before. If you missed that, day job fuels the dream job. So, you know, you can still work.
You don't have to jump into an entrepreneur effort with both feet and leave all hope behind. You know, you can get into it slowly. You know, you can work a temp job or something and have the money that you need so that, you know, you can pay your bills, you can buy your groceries, and then your mind isn't unfocused and distracted, and you can focus on building that business, building that dream.
Beautiful. That's well said, Mark. Thank you.
No, Marina, you are not banned. I encourage ukulele playing.
All right, Marina, we will see you at the summit. So we're going to close this out. Thank you again, Mark, for being on here today. We so
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your time. And we're going to close this out with announcement of the Heart Song Journal. And we'll see y'all real soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye all.
Woo! Let's celebrate, Steph. We did it.
Woo-hoo! All 21. Wow.
All 21 speakers. Yes, in the books. Now it's time to just push out the replays and get everybody promoted so that way we'll have a massive attendance at the upcoming event. So again, the dates are July 19, 20, and 21. So if you have not registered, please do so today. We want to make sure that you're there, present, and accounted for. So those are the dates. Make sure you register. And plus, there's still time to upgrade, right? Upgrade your ticket. So what color journal did you choose? Do you remember? What did you put in your order form?
I have not actually completed the order form, so I need to do that today. Today's
the deadline. Yes. You want to make sure that you're going to be so feeling like jealous and missing out because you don't have your journal while everyone else is working on theirs.
Yes. Although I think I chose, I don't know, it was like burgundy or I don't remember the colors, but it was red-ish. There are 10 different colors to choose from, so there's no shortage.
I know you can collect them all. So if you can't choose a color, get them all. And you can give it as a gift. So order one for yourself with your name and get one for someone else as a gift. So lots of possibilities, but you definitely want to make sure that you're there for that creative workshop. All right. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into this very special month of Speaker Spotlights. Please make sure that you follow us on the SingYourHeartSongSummit.com for all the information on where to find us and where to register. And we will see you all soon. Take care, everyone. Did you know that you could upgrade your event ticket to the Sing Your Heart Song Summit and be included in the bonus creative workshop that's led by the creative visionary Chris Dyer? You are invited to create your personalized custom journal for your Sing Your Heart Song Summit experience. These journals are custom laser engraved with your name. They will also have the Sing Your Heart Song Summit website and logo. There are 10 colors that you can choose from, and each journal may be personalized, and Swarovski crystals will be sent to complement your color choice. Plus, you can also request some fun stencils, patterns, and designs to complete your journal kit. Upgrade today for $57, and this too can be your experience. This is the perfect way to record all your notes during the Sing Your Heart Song Summit.